we got to start at the top with Mr. Trey Lance, the saga of pick 3 here. It's finally over. First, it was going to be Mac Jones. Then it was going to be Justin Fields' private workout. It ultimately emerged Lance was the pick. Now, my first question with that is, was Lance the guy all along? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't have any inside sources, but it seems pretty in vogue these days to say that Adam Schefter, Mike Silver, Peter King, Mike Lombardi, all the guys at the top of the game don't know what they're talking about. And they're making stuff up for clout. Like, I'm sorry, I've been in the industry 10 years. I'm not that naive. If all the top guys are saying that the Niners were in on Mac the whole time and changed at the last minute because of fan pressure, I believe them. And you know what? I don't think it's fan pressure. I think it's called Grant Cohn pressure. I'm sorry. I can really rile up the masses, a mob. And it seems to me that the Niners made it. I mean, the fans made it pretty clear that they were going to flip out if Mac Jones was the pick. The Niners messed up trading up that early. They basically allowed the fans to make the pick. And it was clear if it was Mac Jones, they were going to proverbially, metaphorically riot. And I don't think the Niners wanted that smoke. So they said, Kyle, is there anyone else you like? They're like, yeah, I like Trey Lance too. Great, that's the pick. So we'll see. I mean, it seems pretty clear that they're going to be patient with him. I think Kyle felt that Mac Jones could start right away. I'm not sure he's certain. I don't think anyone knows exactly what Trey Lance can do until he at least gets to camp. So it's more of an unknown, but it's much more exciting, and it was the right pick. You can't take Mac Jones at number 3. He would have been there at number 12, obviously. I don't know if Trey Lance would have been as well, but I have a feeling Trey Lance had a higher draft stock league-wide.
Absolutely, yeah, and so much more excitement. And that's kind of what I'm wondering now is, what's he going to be bringing? Obviously there's so much he can bring and do and say this offense. So we got the fan pressure, of course, but also on the field, what is he going to do for this offense? And before we dig into that, Wolfpack, if you don't mind giving us a thumbs up, whether you're catching that replay, catching the live stream, wherever you're at, it's just a great, easy way to help out the show. Likes and subscriptions, so appreciated. So thank you there. But Grant, why do you think Lance is officially this guy now, and what's he going to bring to this offense?
I mean, it's hard to say. Kyle Shanahan was just on with Rich Eisen this week and said, look, he's not even ready to compete. And what he's been saying since he was drafted is, we're going to go slow with him. And if he proves that he's ready to compete, then so be it. But they're not going to fast forward and be like, you need to learn this offense by now. You need to be ready to compete by now. It'll be up to him. And remember, he's still 20. He'll be their first round pick next year and their first round pick in 2023 as well. So it behooves them to be patient if that's what is required, because you don't want to ruin this guy before 2023. That's your first round pick 2 years from now. So it seems to me that if he doesn't blow them away and he's on a natural progression of a 21-year-old, then they can do what the Ravens did with Lamar Jackson when Lamar was a 21-year-old rookie, which was basically sit him until the bye week and have him come in for 4, 5, 6 plays a game, run the Wildcat, run stuff like that. You got to play him. You got to get Trey Lance in the game. And I don't think you only run Wildcat with him. You also have him throw. You want him to get a couple of play action bombs, a couple of quick throws, and let him master certain elements of the offense. So even if he doesn't win a starting job, I would imagine, I don't have sources on this, but you have to get him in the game. So I would imagine there's going to be a role for him in the offense. Not like a Taysom Hill kind of thing, but there will be drives every game that he gets in until he's ready to take over.
Absolutely. And once he does, one second, let me get back on here. Once he does take over, how do you see this offense evolving, and how do you think he's going to perform? Like, as you said, they're not going to rush him. So clearly he'll be ready by the time he's getting on there. So what's your expectation for how he does and how he performs at that point?
I think the reason they're intrigued with him is they feel like he has the ability. He's right now, he's a lot like Colin Kaepernick. And Kaepernick was great early and never really developed into the classic pocket passer that you need to be in your 30s when you lose athleticism. He's a lot like Cam Newton too. These guys were really great when they were young. And I think the Niners feel that Trey Lance has the passion for the sport and the position and basically that. Kaepernick was smart too, but the obsession and passion for the sport to keep improving the mental side deep into his playing career, and that one day he can be a classic quarterback. But for now, the template is Colin Kaepernick, Lamar Jackson, that kind of stuff. He's not going to pass very much if he plays as a rookie. He didn't pass very much in college. So he'll pass maybe 20 times a game, run a lot, and produce a lot. I mean, even if he's not throwing for a lot of yards, he'll be running for yards and he'll be scoring a lot of touchdowns. So he's definitely someone, if you're in like a dynasty league, get this guy. And if you're not in a dynasty league and you're looking for like a backup quarterback, someone who could become a monster down the stretch, go back and look what Lamar Jackson did the last 7-8 games of 2018. That could be Trey Lance as well. He's a very intriguing guy. He's going to be there real late, I would imagine. I mean, we're going to have to – you can't make these decisions in May. We'll have to see what he does in training camp, but keep him in mind.
100%. I think that's a perfect comparison. That's the one I was going to parallel it to as well, because during that stretch, Lamar Jackson ended up nothing as a passer and still was the quarterback 3 or 4 in fantasy for that stretch he took over in 2018. And then we saw the next year MVP, ridiculous league winner status. So if Trey Lance does have that similar projection, I mean, he is well worth it in dynasty and even in redraft depending on how deep your bench is. Maybe he's on the waiver wire and then you blow all your fab money to go get him. I totally agree 100%. We call it that Konami code in fantasy football because of how much of a cheat code it is when you have a quarterback that's not only getting the passing stats, but also those rushing yards, given how much more valuable they are. The TDs, of course, too. Yeah. So
real quick though, I think it's important. How is this offense going to evolve? Let's say Trey Lance is the starter this year for most of the games. Well, that's going to be great news for Trey Lance owners in fantasy football. He's going to produce a lot. He's going to produce on the ground and through the air. Great news for Trey Sermon owners and Raheem Mostert owners. This team is going to run a lot, like the Ravens, a team that runs more than they pass. I don't think it's great news initially for the people who own George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk. Not because it's just because there's going to be fewer targets to go around. There's going to be fewer throws every game. I think by year 2 or year 3, Trey Lance could be the kind of guy who throws 40, 45 passes a game. But I just don't think that's going to be the way I don't think they're just going to throw him in the deep end the way certain teams do and say, go ahead and learn on the job. And if we stink, that's okay. If you stink, we stink anyway. It doesn't matter. The Niners aren't in that position. They think they're really good. They think they win with Jimmy. So he's going to have to be ready. And when he comes in, I think they're going to kind of not baby him, but just ramp him up. Let's have you run as much as you throw kind of early on. Yeah.
Gotcha. So good news for Trey, but not so great news for those passing game
TBD.
weapons.
TBD.